Hello, my name is Jerry Lazaron, and I'm going to be giving a presentation over Children's March Over the Hills and Far Away by Percy Aldridge Granger. Really quick, we're going to talk a little bit about the piece. I'll give some quick program notes, and we're going to go into some critical spots that really make or break the piece and some rehearsal strategies that will help with that. So this is a simplified sort of version of a more popular piece, Children's March. This simplified version is a grade 3, and I think it's best performed by a middle school first band, more stronger ensemble, but still young. We explore some pretty common keys: F, B flat, E flat, A flat, and then we end the piece back in B flat. Our time signature is 6/8 throughout. There are no meter changes, no tempo changes. It's very strictly our 6/8, and it's approximately 4 minutes long. So some features that really do make or break this piece is its dance meter. We want to make it dance. We want to make it feel sort of light and buoyant. We don't want it to feel heavy, we don't want it to drag, or we also don't want it to rush because that'll harm technique. Also throughout the piece, we have rising and falling melodic lines. And with these melodic lines, I think it's really important that we give these direction with dynamics. So as the contour rises, as we're rising in pitch, we should increase our dynamic volume, and as we descend, we decrease our volume, getting a lot of those hairpins with this main theme. I think it's especially important to rehearse or at least inform your students that they're trying to tell a story with this piece, because it is telling a beautiful story. A story that came to mind while I was working on this project is a child waking up, meeting up with their friend, and those two finding all of their friends, and they go on this beautiful journey, all these beautiful journeys throughout their childhood, and towards the end of the piece, it's more of like a reflection on their childhood and their memories that they shared. It's a really beautiful, tender piece that, if played correctly, can be really moving, really emotional. And in order for all of this to happen, I think it's important to take into account that this piece does feature basically every section of the band. So it's important to have a very well-rounded ensemble. If you have really strong woodwinds, but a younger or just weaker brass section, then this piece is going to suffer because there are very important brass moments, and vice versa. All right, some program notes. So Percy Aldridge Granger is a famous composer from the early 20th century, worked out of England, and he wrote this piece from 1916 through 1919. It was originally written for 2 pianos, but it was later expanded into a military band instrumentation. Now, in this piece, he inscribed a message that reads, "For my playmate beyond the hills," which is likely referring to Karen Holton, who is possibly a romantic interest of his. We only know about their relationship because of the letters that he wrote to her. She was not nearly as well known as Percy Granger, being the famous composer he was. But yeah, this piece, it's just pure joy, really. It's joyful. It's telling a story about friends going on a journey, or at least imagined journey that they're playing out in their heads while they're running through grassy fields. Just as a little helper, these are some images that came into my mind when I listened to this piece. Very European, kind of beautiful green grassy landscapes, and the kids just having a blast, enjoying their innocence and not having to worry about things like taxes or voting. Let's go into some critical spots for this piece. Here is the first 44 measures, sort of an introduction to the piece. Let's give this a listen. So we start with the saxophones, and we join in with the oboe. Notice that rise in dynamic, and we fall back down. Now we come in with some lower voices. Notice how it dances. It's a good stopping point. Yeah, just a nice little exposition into this beautiful piece. I like to imagine this part of the song as a kid waking up and saying, I'm going to go find my friend. And they do find their friend, who just happens to be the oboe that chimes in with the saxophones. And it has a sort of immediately curious and sort of just like adventurous kind of vibe in the beginning. Especially that opening line. It's kind of like a kid struggling to get out of bed. I love that. All right. Moving on. This is much later in the piece, 3 minutes in. I like to think about this as the beginning of the end, which is, it's bittersweet. As you can see, this beautiful sunset landscape right here. We're going to go ahead and give this a listen. So here, just about everyone is marked piano. The trumpets or melodic line is marked mezzo piano. And you see that very dense texture that we want to keep as quiet as possible. That will pose a challenge to younger students on trumpet. But it's nothing that can't be done without some very good rehearsal and practice techniques. But yeah, again, this part of the song, it's a reflection on the journey that they had. The sun setting, everyone's saying their goodbyes. They're going back home to their families to get dinner or just to get ready for bed. Yeah. Moving on, we have the final few measures of our piece beginning at 221. This is the journey's end. I like to refer to it as the journey's end. And like I was saying before, it's a very reflective part with the lower instruments especially. I like to imagine to grown adults reflecting on the time they spent with each other and some other friends in their youth. And this little image I got here I thought was beautiful of, the older people watching their children, playing as they once did before, which is just beautiful storytelling. I don't know if this is what Granger was intending, but it's what came into my mind, and it made me love the piece even more than I loved before. So let's give this last bit a listen, if we can find it. Right here. It's a very soft dynamic and a very long note. That stagger breathing is going to need some work, as well as that last note, making sure there's precision and that the entire ensemble agrees on the length of the last note, as well as the eighth note sort of hits throughout. I want to refrain from using the word hit because it gives it a very aggressive sort of feel. I want it to feel more like punctuation, something lighter. Yeah. But that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was a helpful resource for rehearsing this piece, and I hope it gave you a sort of new perspective on the piece or a different way to look at it. Thank you so much.